Merry Christmas. Hey you guys, so I'm back for Christmas Day to show you how I got my breakfast together. We are having a good time. I'm sure you can hear the kids in the background, and it's just been a really good, easy breezy morning. So let's get started. So I did forget to mention yesterday that with this casserole you can add eggs to it, and that's part of what makes it a breakfast casserole. And so here I have, I think, 6 or 7 eggs that I just cracked, and I'm going to whisk these together and then add that cream mixture that we got together yesterday. And if you want to check out how I prepared all of this, make sure you check out the video on my Christmas Eve meal prepping the day ahead of time. Made everything so super easy, you guys. And so I'm just pouring in most of this cream mixture. I told you yesterday you may not need all of it. It depends on how much you see that you have in your pan. I'm going to start pouring this in, and you'll see that you want the liquid to actually come just below the meat. I don't like to cover my meat, so I'm just going to let it come right below the meat. And you don't have to do this. Some people don't do potatoes. Some people do it like it's a stuffing and do dried bread cubes, but that's up to you. To me, that's a little too soft, and I'm just going to give it a good shake. And I see where I need a little bit more of that mixture. And I added the eggs yesterday because now I still have a milk and egg mixture, so it's not just like I'm adding just plain cream or plain milk on top. So it helps me. I'm not a real big precision cooker, you guys, and that's why I don't do a lot of cakes, because I like to play around and see the day of what I might need. But this came out so wonderful, and you guys will see in a second. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe, comment, and like, and hit the notification bell on the main page if you want to be notified when I add more videos like this. And check us out at everydayandersons.com, you guys. I'm going to add some cheese to this, and I remembered that I had some mozzarella cheese that I wanted to get rid of, and I'm going to add that right on top as well. I put the oven on 385. You can really do whatever you want, 350, 375. It really didn't matter. The potatoes don't take long to cook because they were in the refrigerator and not the freezer. And I'm just going to tint this aluminum foil on top. So whenever I have a full casserole dish, I like to make sure my cheese doesn't get stuck with the aluminum foil when I go to pull it off. So just make sure you give it a nice little tint with your hand to make sure it's not just pressed down on the top. This was so cheesy and delicious, you guys, and I'll show you. Now on to the buttermilk biscuits. I got my buttermilk, and remember I said yesterday, if we prepped ahead of time, this cold butter and cold flour has been in the refrigerator, you guys. I don't always do the cold ingredients because a lot of times I make biscuits last minute. These were so fluffy and delicious, you guys. You can't get them better than this at a restaurant, I guarantee you. And so I'm just going in with some buttermilk. The original recipe with 2 cups of flour that I used is probably gonna take about 1 cup of buttermilk, but because I did more, I wanted a couple of extra biscuits today with bigger biscuits, so I did about maybe 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 cup of buttermilk. And so just keep working it in there. And you will notice when I add the buttermilk, I don't just whisk it and I don't stir it. It's going to be more of like a folding motion. And you do want to give it some deep folds and deep turns because you want to get all of those crumbs from the bottom. And so sometimes if I see more crumbs are settling in one spot, I will go ahead with the buttermilk in that one area. I think I might have had maybe a tablespoon or two too much buttermilk, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm not a precision cooker, and I know just how to manage that. So I'm going to toss a little bit of extra flour when I'm working the dough. But having a damp dough is what you want. You don't want a dry, stiff dough, but you also don't want a wet dough. And so as you can see, I can touch it. It's a little bit sticky, but it's not wet, and it's forming a nice ball. And now I know it's time to turn it on to my cutting board. And I use the cutting board, this one, because it's easy to clean and it keeps me from putting all this mess on the countertop. And the biscuit dough doesn't require a lot of kneading or rolling. It's really going to be a couple of turns, and I'll show you guys in a second. So now I'm going to go in with some flour, and it's important that you flour your surfaces so everything doesn't get really stuck because this is a damp dough. So I went in with a little bit of flour on top, and I'm going to turn it onto this flour on the cutting board and just kind of roll the flour in. This isn't like a knead. You're not making a bread. It isn't a yeast bread, you guys, which I do love to make as well. You don't have to knead it with your wrist. You're just going to roll, kind of toss the flour around into the dough. And we're having a good time at the Anderson household, you guys. The kids are playing games, and so I did want to bring this to you just in case you want to do this for New Year or your next family get together. It made my morning so easy. I spent probably 15 minutes getting breakfast together this morning. And yes, I did leave the dishes to the side for a couple of hours, and we relaxed and had a great morning. And I was so happy I prepped everything. And you can see I'm just going in with a little bit of flour and just gently tapping. Look how fluffy that dough is, you guys. You don't want to press this because it is still kind of sticky on the inside. You just want to get it to the point where you can work it and fold it. And give it those folds, you guys, because that's what's going to help create some of your layers. They don't always just come. You have to create them. And so you just fold it a few times, turn it, and there you go. Put a little bit of flour back on top, and I'm going to go in with my biscuit cutters, and you can use glass if you have that, a cup, but the biscuit cutters, remember, have that sharp edge to them, and that keeps your dough, your biscuits on your dough, from being smushed down on the side, and helps to create more of rising action. If you smush your biscuits too much, they're going to actually stay a little bit smushed. They'll still be good, but over the years I've tried different things just to create that extra rise in my biscuits, and using a biscuit cutter definitely helps. And so I have multiple biscuit cutters, and I just didn't know which one I wanted to use. Today I am going to be using my seasoned cast iron skillet. I really only use this for cornbread, and this year I used it for the roux for my gumbo, and both times with the biscuits and the roux I got a really good result. And so I'm going to be using this thing more often. I had actually forgotten about it because it wasn't seasoned very well and it was sticking a lot, and I put it to the side when we moved into this house, and one day I found it and it was completely oiled and completely seasoned, and ever since then it's been giving me nothing but beautiful, glamorous results with my food. And so I picked a biscuit cutter, and here I am. I'm just going to go in and cut these biscuits out. Make sure you flour your biscuit cutter because this dough will eventually get sticky, because like I said, it's sticky on the inside, and that's what you want. As you can see, that's a nice thick biscuit. I leave the dough thick. Do not flatten out your biscuits, you guys, and think that they're going to rise to be 3 or 4 inches. You have to start them off kind of thick, and that's why you cook these biscuits at a high temperature at 425 degrees. So this really isn't something that you want to kind of play around with 350 or 375. This is going to be 425 degrees for about 20 minutes, you guys, and these came out golden brown. Look at those biscuits. Look at the color, you guys. The bottom was perfect. Like I said, I didn't do shortening because the shortening does tend to make a darker crust on the biscuits. I did all butter, you guys. These were true Southern style buttermilk biscuits. Look at the rise on that biscuit. They were delicious, and I'm going to come back to that biscuit in a second because I couldn't take just smelling it and not trying out one for you guys. And so we're almost done. We're just going to heat up that gravy that I made yesterday because my husband wanted biscuits and gravy at the last minute, and just heat that up and you guys will see, and we'll be done. It was delicious, you guys. We enjoyed our morning. Can't forget the butter, you guys. And so I melted some of this butter in the microwave and went on top of it, and I don't know why I was playing around with this little bit of butter, you guys. I just went ahead and dumped it right on top. These biscuits were delicious. Look at how they're springing back when I'm touching them with that butter. And just go ahead and throw that butter right on top. As you can see, I have to get mine and set it to the side. Look at the rise on that biscuit. Let's check out the casserole. It's out of the oven. It's piping hot. I've already tested a little bit of piece to make sure that the hash browns were done at the bottom, and they were, and this is ready. Look how cheesy and yummy that is with the eggs, and you got your meat. You can use ground sausage, ground turkey, whatever you want. I prefer ground beef. Also, I have ground beef in my gravy, but you can use ground sausage again. Some people like that, or even turkey, but you probably have to add a little more oil for turkey. And we made that yesterday. And here we go with the biscuit, you guys. I just couldn't help myself. Look at that. Look at those flakes and layers in that biscuit. It was delicious. Okay, so back to the white gravy. Just add in as much milk as you like to get that that consistency. Some people like a really thick white gravy. Some people like a really thin white gravy. I kept mine a little bit on the thinner side because I wanted it to stretch. The kids always come back at the last second and say they want some, and so I was glad I did because everybody had biscuits and gravy and casserole. It was delicious. I don't know how many times I have to say delicious, but you guys, it was so yummy. I'm just going in with that gravy on top of my biscuit, and breakfast is served, you guys. I spent so little time this Christmas getting breakfast together because I prepared the day before. Make sure you check us out at everydayandersons.com for more ideas like this, you guys, and let me know what you like to do to prepare for your family for your breakfast. Use this for one of your family get-togethers next Christmas, New Year's, or whatever, you guys. So I'm going to get back to having fun with the family, but as you know, Everyday Anderson. Mwah.